Lawmakers in Massachusetts appear to be rethinking their sanctuary state policy. Governor Charlie Baker supports a bill that would allow, not require, but allow local police to detain immigrants at the request of the feds. Baker says the bill is not a response to pressure from Trump, but rather a formalization of a practice during the Obama administration. It is, however, in my opinion, a retreat. Now this. Our next guest has a column on FoxNews.com, perfect for this show. In this hour, here's the headline of that article: California and the definition of insanity. Why do Democrats love tax hikes so much? Joining us now is Chuck DeVore. He's with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, a former California State Assembly guy. Sir, as I understand it, you were in politics in California, you jumped ship, you now live in Texas. So answer this question. Why do the Democrats in California, why does California love taxes so much?
Well, it's part of their DNA. They just can't help it. When I was on the Revenue and Taxation Committee, I was vice chairman. I tried to explain to my Democratic colleagues that you could have a tax code to maximize government revenue or to try to redistribute wealth. Pick one, because you can't do both. And they, of course, always try to redistribute wealth. And the problem is people can move. And as a result, about a net of 200,000 Americans every year, in an average year, pick up and move out of California. More move out than move in. The number one state they go to, like me, is the Lone Star State, Texas.
Well, now there's a proposal in California that illegals can get a driver's license, and when they get the driver's license, they're automatically registered to vote. That's a terrific way, if you're a Democrat, of keeping Democrat control of the state of California, isn't it?
Well, the challenge is that that may be the proposed rule or law, but the people, if they do vote, they're committing a crime. So unfortunately, they're setting up their own residents to be prosecuted.
Chuck, you cannot police that. You can't.
Well, in some instances, it is policed. It certainly isn't policed as much as I would like to see it. In fact, we even have cases of voter fraud here in Texas. There was a big case that broke just yesterday that Governor Greg Abbott tweeted about someone who is being accused of having illegally signed up 3 people for a home ballot. And that's, of course, a very easy way to commit fraud.
You were a successful man in California. Were you driven out by taxes?
Well, you could say I'm a political and economic refugee in Texas. I used to work in the aerospace industry before I was elected to the legislature in 2004. We had plenty of huge aerospace headquarters in California. All the major headquarters have now left the state because of a combination of the California tax policy and regulatory policy. They just found that they couldn't make as much money in California compared to if they moved somewhere else. And so my client base vanished, and therefore it was kind of hard to do what I used to do for a living when I was termed out of the legislature in 2010.
But the culture is really different in California to Texas. I mean, it's almost like day and night. It's like you're living in a different country. Have you adopted and adapted to the new culture in Texas?
Well, absolutely. It's a very freedom-oriented culture. And to your point, on a hunch, when I moved to Texas and started work for the Texas Public Policy Foundation, I did a survey of the occupations of the majority that was in charge in each state legislature. And as I suspected, I found that somewhere around 85% of the Republicans who were in the majority in the state legislature in Texas were in business, ranching, they were doctors, they were people who worked for a living. In California, what I found was that same percentage was about 18% versus about 85% in Texas. And the rest of the majority Democrats in California, what they did for a living in the legislature before they became elected, they were roughly 1/3 community organizers, plaintiffs' attorneys, and government staffers. Oh. And so as a result, they brought a different life experience. They brought a different attitude toward their legislative duties. And that's one of the reasons why California has among the highest taxes in the country. In fact, I did a study looking at the 15 biggest states, and you see a very tight correlation between the big tax states like California and New Jersey and Connecticut and New York, and the low tax states like Texas and Florida. You see a big correlation between Americans moving out of those big tax states into the low tax states.
Chuck, you're talking to somebody who lives in New Jersey. Okay. Chuck DeVore, he knows what he's
Better than
talking
New York.
about. Yeah, marginal. Chuck DeVore, you're all right. Thanks for joining us, sir. Much obliged. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.